Today's openings begin with vintage brown ale from Kilter Brewing in Winnipeg. As seems to be the trend these days, there's no tasting notes or anything on the side of the can. So I guess we'll just describe it as a brown ale. Not too roasty, not too hoppy, just a nice mellow ale. So the first thing in doesn't appear to have any customs lies on it, so let's see what we got in here. We got a couple of modules and another package. These appear to be another couple of the dual lithium-ion charging modules. They're not for charging a 2S pack. They are for charging two separate lithium-ion batteries independently. It's basically two completely isolated charging circuits. The only thing in common with them is the input power and the ground. But I've used a couple of these already and decided to get a couple more for stock to replace them. Those will come in handy, as did the previous ones. Type-C USB 1S 1 amp lithium battery charging module, etc., etc. Two-way battery charger protection. Currently they're going for $335. I paid $317 for them back in July. But as usual, search around, use the keywords in the title, and see if you can find a better deal. Input voltage between 5 and 6 volts. Do not exceed that or you might blow up the charging chip. Output voltage 4.2 volts. Yeah, that's what the lithium-ion battery charges to. 1 amp per channel charging. Unless you replace one of these resistors, and I think it is this one here, but don't quote me on that. We'll have to look up the part number of the actual chip if it's printed on there and find out. Other than that, there's not much more to know about them. They do the job. And the other thing that came in the same bag is Ultra Mini Charge Discharge Module, 3.7 volt, 18650. So more of the same, maybe. I don't know why they're packaged differently though. There are 4 of them, and oh wow, those are frickin' tiny. Let's get one of those out and take a closer look at it. Also, there's actually 5 of them, not 4. I wasn't counting very carefully, but wow. And you see how tiny this thing is? It's actually got a USB-C port on the back of it, and it is less than a centimeter across by, what is that, about 6 or 7 millimeters deep? That is tiny. The chip on it is LP4054. Not one that I'm super familiar with, but I think we should look that up after we go and take a look at the listing. Ultra Mini Charge Discharge Module, 3.7 volt, 18650 lithium battery charging protection board, Type-C, 4.2 volts, 600 milliamp boost converter. Okay, so that answers one question. It's 600 milliamps. But other than that, wow, that is tiny. They're not kidding when they call it Ultra Mini. Anyway, I got 5 of them for $5.59, and since I combined shipping with other stuff, I got it for free shipping. Woohoo! Constant current, constant voltage charging mode, which is what you need for proper charging lithium-ion batteries. Oh, neat. It'll start trickle charging up to 2.8 volts if a battery is undercharged to bring it back into a healthy state. That is cool. It said discharge in the title, but I don't see that anywhere. Easily integrated into compact spaces such as wearables, micro drones, etc. Electric mosquito swatters. That's very specific. And there is the only real connections. Tiny little pads to the positive and minus of the battery. Had a bit of trouble finding the data sheet for that chip. This is a similar one. The one we've got is LP2054. But this looks similar and the pinout seems to be the same. This one seems to be good for 500 milliamps rather than the 600 that AliExpress claims. But regardless, that's not bad for a tiny little battery. So they only give a couple of examples of the programming resistor. 2K, which presumably is the one that it comes with, is the 500 milliamp for this version of the chip. And I'm going to guess that it's probably the same for the one that we've got. And if you go higher with that programming resistor, you can bring your charge current down if you want to be much more gentle on your batteries. That is something worthwhile to remember. So yeah, this is a cool, tiny little guy. It could come in handy in some tight spaces. Well, we're off to a good start. Let's see what came from an anonymous sender to my P.O. box. Something wrapped up nicely in bubble pack as usual. It's a bag of capacitors. In this case, 10 volt, 220 microfarad. All right, this is, I think, the third batch of capacitors and all different values that I've got from anonymous donors. So thank you very much, whoever you are. I will add those to my stock, and they will definitely come in handy. As usual, when it's something that I don't know where it's come from, I will put a link down below to this eBay search, sorted as always, price plus shipping lowest first, and it should find it. I'm going to assume, as often happens, that my anonymous donors are bidding on things on cheap auctions with free shipping, which is what I would do, quite honestly. There aren't any at the moment, but that doesn't mean there won't be when you're watching this. Anyway, the second hit comes up with capacitors that look exactly like these ones. They even look like they could be the same brand. So the first listing that I could find has a bunch of different values. There's the one that I got for $3.20 for 10 of them, 30 cents each with free shipping. That's not too bad at all. Thank you once again to my anonymous donor. All right, next thing in. This one's got a little bit of weight to it, and it doesn't say what it is. So, it looks like it might be a kit. It calls itself an electromagnetic swing making kit. All right. The circuit board looks like it's got an inductor on it and a bunch of other stuff going on. There is what appears to be an acrylic laser cut frame for it, USB power, some standoffs and whatnot. I will definitely toss it into the big box of kits, and depending on my blind pull from that box coming up in December, we may see this sooner. We may see it much further in the future. DC 5 volt electronic swing kit, electromagnetic swing experimental circuit, production DIY welding kit, loose parts swing DIY swing set. Currently selling for $11.99. They claim that at some point when it's not on sale, it'll be $37. When I bought it back in early August, it cost me $12.10. Again, search around, you never know. It appears that there's two different styles, which is just the difference in the shape of the support thing, by the looks of it. One could be a mermaid, and one could be a leaf. Lots of information down here. I don't know how useful it is, but we'll have to figure that out when we go to build it. Right, next thing in. It's heavy, it's rattly, and it doesn't say anything about it on the outside of the package. It is a couple of different things, but this is pretty obvious. This is a whole package of Wago connectors, or Wago, I guess, if you were pronouncing things with a German accent. These are, in Europe, an incredibly common electrical connector. They fit a fairly wide range of wire gauges. They are rated for full mains voltage, and these ones will let you connect up to three different wires together. They also work on both solid and stranded wire, so that alone is nice. The typical Marrettes, or I guess the generic term would be wire nuts that we often use in North America, don't work so well joining stranded to solid, but these things do. And I use them quite a bit around here. There's a couple that have spent most of their life attached to my power supply. I use them when I'm just quickly and temporarily connecting stuff up all the time. I have no illusions that these are official Wago branded ones, because these came, direct from Shenzhen. But I also don't use them on mains wiring that's permanently connected around here, just because they're not verified ones. But they still do an excellent job, and I got a box of 53 of them just to replace ones that are in use in my stock. Mini-wire electrical connector box 222, which is the WAGO designation for this style. LED strip lighting, quick connect universal, compact conductor, push-in terminal blocks, yada yada. This is the package that I got out of all the different varieties that they sell. The 3-position 53 in a box, currently selling for basically $16 Canadian. It was $11 when I bought it back in early July. And again, the prices bounce around all over the place. Search around, you never know what you're going to find for pricing. They claim to be rated for 220 volts, and if they were the official real ones, I would be comfortable using it. However, since these are knockoffs, govern yourselves accordingly. And as expected, this listing has a whole bunch of different varieties in it. Choose the ones that you have an application for, I guess. What else was in that package? We have 2 of the, DC 3-volt 30 RPM speed reduced motor in 23mm shaft, etc. gearhead motor. Sure. These are similar to some that I got a few weeks ago, I guess, in a previous mailbag. These are just really tiny, low speed, high torque gear motors. Good for any number of projects. The reason that I first became aware of this style of motor, this N20, is Angus from Maker's Muse down in Australia was using these for his Antweight robots because, you know, they're light, they're tiny, they're torquey. I don't know if I'm going to do robotics with them, but they seem like cool little motors that would be really handy to have around here for when the mood strikes to do a robotics or a mechanical project. So that is why I got these ones and the ones in the previous mailbag. As it said on the package, DC 3-volt 30 RPM speed reduced motor N20, which is the size, 3mm shaft, mini metal gear wheel, gear motor, full metal gearbox, micro motor. Yeah. Currently, they're selling for $7.29 each. I got the pair of them for $8 after tax. So, yeah, search around. I have to keep saying that because these prices keep changing. Not much more to say about it. There is the physical size of it. Small, lightweight, easy to mount a wheel on the output shaft. Yeah, it's just a D-shaped shaft. You can 3D print a gear or a wheel or a lever arm or anything you want to attach to this thing. And it is nice and compact. And the last and largest thing today, this came to my P.O. box from Jeffrey in Massachusetts, I think is what MA is, isn't it? And it is box within a box. What has he sent me? For the December Kit Bash, for once not anonymous, from Jeff. And that's his email address. I hope he intended for that to come up across on video. Let's see what this kit is that he has sent. Oh! We have inductors and capacitor, and a big capacitor, and a push button, and an LED, some little metal slugs, an acrylic case with some hardware, a battery holder. What are you? That is a chonky inductor. Okay. And a circuit board and some instructions. What? Ooh. And another circuit board. That is the one, I guess, that the inductor goes on. Okay, what do you do? It is an upgraded electromagnetic processing kit. I can get detailed instructions by scanning that, and so can you. Apparently it has high pressure dangerousness. How to use, turn on the switch, the green light lights up, wait for 10 to 30 seconds for the blue light, for insert projectile through the rear of the barrel. Press the launch button, the shell flies out of the barrel. Oh, okay. Is this a small coil gun? Well, okay. That'd be fun to put together. It's an interesting application. Not something I would have ordered, but That should be a fun one to put together. So lots of bits and pieces in here, but a very simple schematic in there. 1000 microfarad capacitor, couple of inductors. Those slugs are actually projectiles, sure. A little plastic tube to act as a barrel. Well, this should be an interesting kit. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, look forward to seeing that one coming up in the future. After searching around a bit on eBay, I think this is the kit or an almost identical one to the one that Jeff sent me. The big capacitor, the mounting and everything, the acrylic case. That looks like it should be it. And at the moment, it seems to be selling for around $30 Canadian or $34 Australian if you prefer. They keep pointing out that it is a toy kit. Very important. Not a weapon, this is a toy. Acrylic shell, electronic gun DIY kit. Working principle, this uses amperometric force. Is that a real word? Generated by the electromagnetic field to accelerate a metal rod. Yeah. A fun toy and a great lesson in small circuits and assembly. Sure. A really fun project. Compact and lightweight. Remember, it's a toy. So there is everything that's in there. That's the... We have 5 iron pillar. Looks like we have 5 projectiles to play with and lose into the corners of the shop. Okay. This should be a fun one to put together and hopefully not too dangerous to the user. Thanks, Jeff. And there is the contents of today's mailbag haul. Plenty of cool stuff this time. Wow. Starting off with a couple of different styles of lithium-ion charging boards. These tiny ones are interesting. I did not know that you could get charging boards that small. Those are pretty cool. I got a couple of gearhead motors for random experimenting in the future. An anonymous donor sent me a bag of capacitors. Thank you once again. Got this big box of Wago knockoff connectors just for restocking the shop because those are so handy, and I managed to find a pretty good deal on them, so why not? And then I got 2 kits. One that I ordered, this little magnetic swinging thing. It looks like I did get the leaf one, not the mermaid one. Not sure if I'm impressed at my restraint or disappointed in myself for not getting the tacky one. Anyway, that'll be a fun one to put together. And then there is this magnetic projectile launcher that Jeff sent me. That should be interesting to put together too. Both kits that use magnetics too. Huh. Who would have guessed? Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks to the anonymous donors and the not so anonymous donors. Thanks also to the YouTube channel members and the Patreon supporters who help keep my beer fridge full and help keep the mailbags rolling in. I do appreciate it. Questions and comments down below as usual. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.